Am I the a-hole stories? Am I the a-hole for choosing my adoptive family even after my bio parents spent ages trying to find me? I'm 15, female in a small town in Idaho. I was adopted shortly after my birth by a lovely couple, who have raised me as their own. I also have 4 younger siblings, who are all their biological children, but I'm never treated any differently by them or my parents just because I was adopted. We never knew why my biological parents gave me up, but the truth is I'm happy with my life as it is now, so it never bothered me much, and I never felt the need to find the answer to that question. Well, after 15 years, my biological parents have found a way to get in touch with me. I don't know how, considering they would have only known my first name and not my last, but I guess they had their methods. And yes, I know it's legitimately them because they showed me a baby photo that was nearly identical to one that my parents have. So it's for real. Last month, they proposed the idea of meeting up, and I got the okay from my parents to meet them, which happened last week. They were really nice, took me out for lunch, and we talked about how my life was. And I finally found out why I was given up. I was born in Salt Lake City, Utah, and my parents were both from devout Mormon families. They ended up doing the deed before they were married, which I guess is a big deal in their religion. I don't know, my family isn't religious. But it basically boiled down to them not wanting their families to find out, so they decided to find a way to hide me, and they'd wanted to come back for me once they were married. But, since I had been adopted, they had to jump through a bunch of hoops to figure out who my family was and where I was currently residing, since the place I was adopted from wasn't just going to give them that information. A little creepy, in my opinion. But okay. Well, what I thought was just gonna be a nice lunch, ended up turning into them trying to take me back. Come live with us, we're ready for you now, etc. And I just looked at them dead in the eye and said, no. You may have given birth to me, but you aren't my family. I got bombarded with the guilt trip of, after all we went through to find you? You'd really do this to us? We spent 15 years looking for you, we made a mistake, we'll never do this to you again. But I still stood my ground, said no, and called my dad to come pick me up. On the drive home, I told him everything. And my phone kept blowing up with texts from my biological parents, so I ended up blocking both of their numbers. But in hindsight I'm feeling a little bad. Blocking their numbers may have been an extreme move on my part, and I felt bad for how seriously they wanted to take me back, especially after hearing about how much time they spent looking for me. But at the same time, they're practically strangers to me. I don't know. I knew from the start I was staying with my true family, but was I too harsh on my biological parents? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole at all. I am sorry your biological parents are trying to guilt trip you. They have no right to demand you come live with them, legally they don't either I believe, after one meeting. Legally they don't either I believe. This is entirely correct. Legally, OP is the child of their adoptive parents. The bio parents' legal rights were severed a long time ago. Typically, adopted children are even issued new birth certificates with their adoptive parents' names on it. Yes, I was dropped off with my original birth certificate when my parents gave me up, so that whoever adopted me would know my birthday and given name in case they wanted to change it. Mine didn't, so I still have my birth name. I got issued a new one once I was adopted, and I've never seen the old one, so I never knew my bio parents' names. I do now, they told me when they introduced themselves. It's so weird to me that your biological parents explicitly gave you up for adoption. If they had expressed the desire to wait to get on their feet for a year and then reclaim you, they could have pushed for you to go to foster care instead, and then worked with a social worker to demonstrate they could provide a fit home. Social services will bend over backwards to keep a child with its biological family, if that's a possibility. But given the situation you describe, it sounds like they willingly severed their parental rights right then and there and fully intended for you to be adopted out to someone else. Frankly, I think their narrative that they kept your birth a secret and then gave you up temporarily with the intention of coming back for you later holds no water. Clearly, they happily consented to the adoption, and then started having regrets much later. Maybe once they were established adults, they decided at that point that they wanted you back? Did they have any other biological children? If not, perhaps that's why they came looking for you, because you were their one shot at parenthood? Whatever the case, these people seem very sketchy, and I don't think they're telling you the truth here. Yeah, a lot of comments are pointing out the holes in their story, holes that I didn't bother poking into at the time, because I was still trying to process the entire situation. They do not have any other biological children. We are ready for you now, after all we went through for you. This says it all. They might actually be decent people, but in the end, they let their religion and social stigma rule their life. They made the active choice to give up a child to strangers. You owe them nothing. You can decide what you want to do with them. This isn't a simple, honest mistake, same as cheating isn't just a mistake, for instance. This was a well-thought-out decision and they paid the price. You seem to have wonderful parents and siblings. They showed you kindness and love. You're right to do the same for them now, to not turn your back on them. Don't feel guilty about anything. You choose to live your life the way you want, just as they chose to live their life to their beliefs, and because of that, giving you up for adoption. You can let them into your life if you want to, but they'll have to accept that they'll never fulfill a parental role. That's a privilege your actual, adoptive parents have earned, not a birthright. You can also decide to cut them out forever. That's entirely your choice and you shouldn't feel guilty about it. Next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling my cousin at least I know my parents wanted me, when she kept making comments about me not being family?" Some backstory: I, female 17, was adopted when I was 3 months old. My cousin, 17 female, is my grandparents' only bio-grandchild, but she seems to be the only one that cares about that. She doesn't like me because I got a full scholarship to a performing arts school and she didn't get accepted, and when my grandpa gave us his cars, I got the better one. We had a family dinner last week and my grandparents asked about my boyfriend. My grandma jokingly asked when we're getting married, because she wants a great-grandchild. I laughed and said it'll be a while, and my cousin cut in and said, they probably want a real great-grandchild anyway. I brushed it off and kept talking to my grandma. When we were about to have dessert, my grandpa realized he forgot to get ice cream and asked me to drive into town and buy some. My cousin made another comment about how she's the only real family member, so she should have gotten the good car. My grandpa told her to shut up and that I got the new car because I helped them out and come to visit them almost every day, and she doesn't. After dessert, my grandpa said we should take my sister, 14, to the backyard and teach her how to drive the golf cart. I agreed and told her I was driving the thing into town to run errands all the time when I was her age. My grandpa then told her maybe if she likes driving it, he'll give it to her. My cousin lost it. She started screeching that it's not fair that we get everything, and we're not even their real family. That pissed me off because she said it in front of my youngest sister, 4, and made her cry, so I snapped at her and said, at least we know our family wanted us. Cousin screamed and stormed off and my sisters got more ice cream. My grandparents think that was hilarious and I was totally in the right. My dad also thinks I'm in the right, but my mom thinks that was mean and I should apologize. So I wanted to know if I was the a-hole. Not the a-hole. How long can she continue to be disrespectful before someone snapped at her? She got what she deserved, and it wasn't like you were overly mean to her. She honestly just sounds spoiled rotten. Just like Joker said, you get what you freaking deserve. Childhood is idolizing Batman. Adulthood is realizing the Joker may have a point. Not the a-hole. And good on you, OP. No one has the right to make you feel like you're not part of that family. Your grandparents and parents sound like amazing people. Not the a-hole. Good job for defending your family. Your mom is right, it was mean. It was also justified in the appropriate response to someone who was being deliberately provocative and cruel. Your mom may be like my grandmother, a peacekeeper through and through. Peacekeepers like this can be wonderful to have in families, but they can also rug sweep for the sake of peace, which isn't okay. That said, it sounds like your cousin actually has more of a beef with your grandparents than with you. She's taking it out on you, but it sounds like she resents the strained relationship she has with them and it hurts her to be pushed aside. She may have no one to blame but herself, but that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt her. Honestly, what OP said wasn't even that mean, it was just true. If you adopt a kid you can be 100% sure the adoption wasn't an accident. Sure, I guess it implies something unkind about the cousin, but like, who cares? Not the a-hole. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad I'm miserable at his house? I, 15 female, have divorced parents. I spend most of my time at my mom's house and over the last 2 years my time at my dad's has decreased from every other weekend, to 3 weekends a month to every other week. It breaks my dad's heart because he wants to see me more and he has started getting Thursdays off at his job, and wishes he could spend that extra bit of time with me. But the truth is, I hate being at his house. 2 years ago, he got remarried, and then he and his wife had more kids. Up to then, I had been an only child with my own room in both homes, then it went from that, to once the pregnancy was announced, I had to share with his wife's oldest and only daughter, who is the same age as me, and it was rough. She and I do not get along. She's very temperamental. One time, I asked her to be quiet because I was lying down since I had a headache, and she told me to bug off. She was on the phone. I told her to take it somewhere else and she told me to do the same. And that it was her room now since she lived there all the time, and I was just a guest. My issues with her were the reason I asked to spend weeks with my mom instead of there. My dad knew, but he just couldn't understand why I wouldn't give him and his wife more time to get her daughter to cut the crap. But 3 weekends a month was way too much. She took over my half of the room, and even though I made it so that I was more guest than lived there, it made me want to be there less too. Especially when she would snap at me for touching something she left on my bed. Or for pushing her clothes over in the closet to put mine in. At Christmas, my dad asked me about increasing my time at his house, and I told him I honestly wanted to decrease it. He asked me why, was it because of my stepsister, and I told him honestly, that I am just miserable when I'm at his house. I don't have my own space. I have to deal with sharing a room with her. There are so many people now, his wife, her 3 kids including the daughter, my 2 little siblings, and the house isn't huge. It has 4 bedrooms so there is no more space for me. And whenever I'm there, I wish I could go back to it being just as that it is so much easier when I'm there less because I don't spend all the time wishing I was home. My dad was upset. He told me I should have said something sooner. That he could have helped me come around better if he had known how miserable I was. He told me they're my family now. That I need to speak to someone so I can see the good in it. I told him I didn't think I could do that and actually stay in the house more than I already do. Which he told me was me not trying. Then he said I could have always made more of an effort with my sister, and when I made a face, he told me I was acting like a kid, which he knows I am, but he would hope I would be mature enough to accept that they are all my siblings now. Then he got mad about me feeling how I do, and things have been tense ever since. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. I think you should remove whatever things you have in the house and only visit your dad during the day. Not the a-hole. OP's dad is trying to make her do all of the emotional labor, while not doing anything to actually help the situation. Just being in that house sounds exhausting. The post doesn't explicitly state it, but I wouldn't be surprised if 1, OP is coerced into being childcare for her younger half-siblings, and 2, stepmom always takes her children's sides over OP. Not the a-hole, OP, and don't let your dad guilt-trip you. You may be acting like a kid, but you are a kid, and your dad's version of being mature is trying to make you knuckle under to make his life easier, without regard to your mental health. Stick to your guns, and as above commenter says, only visit during the day. Not the a-hole. If I'm doing the math here, there are 8 people in a 4-bedroom house. You are being forced to share a room with a rude person not of your choosing. I can't really wrap my head around him not grasping that you might have a problem and feel unwanted in his house after he gave your room away. I would think that is pretty obvious. Honestly, they had no business having more kids when there clearly wasn't room for them. Giving up your room was not a viable option. He made those choices. He needs to grow up and stop blaming you because he's facing the consequences of his choices. Now for last story. Am I the a-hole to telling my wife to stop calling herself a mother? My wife and I have been together for 5 years and married for 3. I'm 26 and she's 25. Before we got together when she was 17, she was with someone else and she got pregnant. She lost that baby at 32 weeks, due to the baby contracting a lung infection and dying. It sucks and is tragic, and she visits the baby's grave every year on the anniversary of its death. I have no problem with that. When people ask if we have any kids, I say no, and she says she had a baby but it passed away. It makes people really uncomfortable, and we've talked about how not everyone needs to know about her dead kid. Our issue arose when yesterday, which was supposed to be her due date, she went and got a tattoo of the baby's handprints and the name she gave it, which she had been talking about for years and I was always reluctant for her to do. It seems kinda trashy, but I don't like tattoos in general, and posted it on Facebook with a big long caption about how, even though she wasn't his earthside mother for long, he taught her so much, and how being his mother was the greatest gift she could ask for. I told her to stop calling herself a mother and posting depressing stuff on Facebook. It was almost a decade ago and she's still holding on to it. What is she going to say when we have kids? That she has this many kids alive and this many dead? She told me I was being an insensitive d-head, and it's no different than if her baby died at 6 months old. She still held it, fed it with her body, loved it and created a space in her world for it. She hasn't talked to me since yesterday and slept in our guest room. I feel like she needs to get over it because it was almost 10 years ago and she's acting like it's fresh. Am I the a-hole? The baby didn't die in utero or was stillborn. It was born, developed a lung infection and died like 5 days after it was born. You're the a-hole. Let me paint a picture for you. At 32 weeks, your wife may have been given the option to induce labor and try to save the preemie baby. That baby very well could have lived. At 32 weeks, if the baby died in utero, your wife packed a bag and went to the hospital to deliver a baby she knew was gone. A nurse would have asked her if she wanted to hold the baby or if she wanted a picture to keep. Depending on the state she lived in, she had to have a birth certificate issued. She had to decide whether to donate, cremate or bury her baby's body. At 32 weeks, that baby had a name. A crib. A car seat. Blankets. Tiny socks. At 32 weeks, even strangers on the street would have asked about her baby and when she was due. Your wife experienced the hardest and most heartbreaking parts of motherhood. Just because her child is no longer with her doesn't mean that she isn't a mother. Added after reading OP's comments. Your wife delivered her baby, heard their cries, may or may not have been allowed to hold them and saw them whisked away to an ICU, then watched her baby die. Would you be so cruel to someone who lost their 2-year-old? Their 10-year-old? Their teenager? Where exactly is the line for you that death becomes legitimate? I'm astounded by how cold you are. Additionally, I think that therapy needs to come into play here. She needs someone to talk to who can help her do some healing. You're the a-hole. Massively. If you're not trolling, I'm not sure how you could possibly think otherwise. 32 weeks is a baby. She lost her baby. You don't get over that. Ever. If you think grief counseling might help her in dealing with that, feel free to suggest it, but demanding she act like it didn't count because her child never drew breath is gobsmackingly cruel and insensitive. 32 weeks isn't a miscarriage. It's either a stillbirth or a baby that died shortly after being born. Many twins are born at 32 to 34 weeks gestation. You're the a-hole. What the hell is wrong with you? And that's it for this video, guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone.